Good morning. What I've been doing is I'm going to make individual videos. From log to stave was one of them, from stave to bow blank, and this is the black locust that I made into a bow blank, and I got it down and floor tilled. And the next video, this video here, is going to be on fire hardening. Well, looking at this black locust, because it has such twist and dips, the only way I'm going to take this out, especially look at this here, especially this, is if I steam them. So I'm going to take a chance and I'm going to steam these limbs for an hour each, individually, one at a time, and put a recurve on them, that short recurve. And at the end of this video here, because you're going to see this will be fire hardened at some point. We have bad weather this whole week. We got snow, we got rain, we got snow. I'll never get outside to fire harden this probably for 2 weeks. But when I do, this is going to be the fire hardening video. And at the end of the fire hardening video, I'm going to post different pictures of my videos on how to put on the tips, how to shape the riser, and the last one we're going to do with this is strictly tillering and shooting. Well, tillering and shooting we're going to put. Tillering, shaping, and shooting, okay? So at the end of this video, the fire hardening video, whenever that may be, you'll see pictures of my videos from YouTube, so you can look at them, read the caption, and go to them. If let's say you just want to put antler tips on, how I shape them. If you want to shape the riser, I have a video on how to shape the riser. If you say, oh, I got a bow, I want to take the bark off and trim it, to make a stave out of it, what do I do? And if I got a stave and I want to make a bow blank, what do I do? And there's different designs you could use. And I show one of my designs. This happens to be like a speedbow design where it tapers down. And it's not really meant to be recurved. But I sanded it smooth and I didn't take down the dimensions. I left it a little thicker. And because of the dips, I'm going to try in one more time and make another recurve with this here. And it should work out because I left it a little thicker. So that's it. And then I'll show you how I put this on the fire hardening backset jig. And then we're going to show you fire hardening. Okay, we have the bow steaming. And you have to let it steam for the full 60 minutes, 1 hour. Not 45, not 50. Steam it for the full hour. This way you don't have any grain lift. And you have to go buy yourself one of these flexible yardsticks. This happens to be from Harbor Freight, cheap one. You put the bow in, and this goes against the belly of the bow, and you bend it down, the handle goes up, and it keeps fibers from popping up. You hold it tight. I use my elbow, go down, push. I use my hand, push down with a pot holder, and I push down and clamp it. And that metal will keep the fibers from popping up, okay? We're going to take it off in a minute, and I'm going to show you. Handle up, handles up. Okay, we've got to be quick with this. We got it aligned the best I could. Look at this. We're going to hold the clamp. We're going to hold the yardstick so we don't have any fibers popping up. We got it bent, so tighten it up, slugging it up. Trying to get this aligned so it's aligned nice. working out good. Now we're going to have a second time to align this. When it cools, we're going to take this, what I'm using for a strap, this Harbor Freight yardstick, off, and we're going to realign the wood and use the heat gun to get it perfect. Okay. I think we got it. That looks pretty aligned pretty well here. Okay, it's looking good. This is the second limb, and we have it down. We're going to heat it up so it'll conform to the jig, so it'll be a little less spring back. And as you can see, from here to here, we have a little twist. And I got some leverage here going on, and when I heat it, it should be able to torque and straighten out a little bit. That's all we want to do, is just straighten out a little. Then we have one more chance for straightening everything in alignment, is when I put it on the Recurve fire hardening jig. We get to reclamp everything and heat it up to conform to the clamp. Like I said, it's going to be quite some time before we fire harden this, because we have bad weather. Rain, snow coming up in the forecast. But at some point, once we fire harden this, and that's what this video is about, the fire hardening, you'll see that it should conform to the jig with the heat and stay that way. And we use the heat gun. The moisture on this will be 0 on my meter, which is 4% or less. So what we're going to do is just hydrate it. Hydrate it. And in a few days, we'll be ready to fire harden it, and you'll get to see the fire hardening video. I recurved the ends. Okay, it looks pretty good, right? But on this riser, it's twisted. And because it's a recurve, once it's under pressure, I'm afraid the limbs are going to twist as it applies pressure and I start tillering it. I'll keep the fade outs and the inner thirds a little stiffer, and it probably will work out the way it is. But I'm going to steam this center because it's got a big dip. This is the big dip bow. Okay, this is the black Locust stave. I'm going to steam this, and I'm going to put it on this jig, and I'm going to clamp this riser down and see if it'll give. If it gives, you have to steam it for an hour, and I'm able to flush it down. I'm going to put clamps here and here, and then just let it cool, and that's it. And then it's going to go on the fire hardening jig. So this is my idea. I'm going to try this here. You see how I have the foil with the hole in it over the pot, and the rise is going to go in here. Okay, like I said, I don't know if it's going to work. Oh, I'm going to pinch it here. I'm going to pinch it here. And then I'm going to cover foil on the top. All right, you see how it looks? I think it's going to work out. And then we're going to cover this around like this here. And that's the plan. And we're going to leave it for an hour. Once it starts to boil, I can tell by peeking it up here. It's boiling now, okay? So since it's boiling, we're going to put the timer on for an hour. And then we're going to see if we can get it to conform. It's either going to work, or if it don't, I'm not forcing it to crack it. I'll just tiller around it. You know, sometimes you can't have a perfect tiller, but you can have a fun shooting bow. So we'll see what happens. Okay, remember, not 40 minutes, not 50 minutes. Leave it for the hour. Okay, hopefully I took a big chunk of that twist out. It's the best I could do. That's it. So what I'm going to do now is, after it cools, I'm going to use a heat gun and just heat everything up to see if it'll take the set. And if this is a little off, it's a little off. There's nothing I could do about it. Okay, I'm just going to heat this up back and forth here, section at a time. This section, then the other side. Just trying to get it to take a set. I took the clamps off, and even though I had a little bit of spring back, a little bit, which was expected, this it still has a dip, but it's almost gone. Big improvement. Everything looks straight. I think it worked out. Okay, so steam in the center, clamping it down, and then heating it up with the heat gun really worked out. Just a little bit more spring back here, but when I get the final fire hardening jig set up, this will be clamped to it, and the heat from the fire hardening will make it perfect with a slight back set. Looks good. Happy with the results. This is my recurve fire hardening jig that I made originally for a 62-inch bow, and then I made one of a 64-inch bow, so I cut it in half and I put metal brackets on each side, and it worked. I slid the split ends down to the curves, because the curves come off the same jig, so they're the same every time. They're the smaller curves. They're smaller curves. You can see it on my video, smaller curves, how I made the actual jig. And then this last stave, this black locust stave, is 66 inches. So I removed those metal clamps and I put hickory brackets to fit the jig, and it came out great. So it's snowing and out now. I mean, it just got done snowing, and we got to wait a few days before everything clears up, maybe a week or two even. Okay, here's a view from the bottom. That's going to be hanging on the coals. And the smaller curves work out great, because there has to be a balance between the bend of the curve that puts pressure on these limbs, and you can't overdo it or underdo it. And the smaller curves just seem to be producing a faster, snappier limb. Today we finally get to fire harden this. We got a whole week of rain, snow. I was waiting. It was supposed to stop raining at 11 o'clock, and now it's 1 o'clock, and it's not supposed to be any rain for the evening. So I got the shovel and shoveled off the ice. And I set this up. You look at my other videos, there's nothing more than a aluminum tray here at the end that I bent. So I'm able to stack the coals up a little higher to fire harden the recurve. And I always put the recurve jig up first, so I know how long to make the gutter system. I'm going to put the coals on, get it started, and I'll get back to you. People think I'm crazy for doing it today, waiting for the rain to stop, but it's in the 40s. And I'd rather do it in the 40s today than have it in the 30s and 20s. It's been about 5 hours ago is the last time I hydrated this with a wet rag. I checked the moisture. It's been in my house with hot air heat, and it's like 4 or 5% moisture, which is good. Now the coals haven't caught completely, so it's a little higher now, or the heat is a little less until the coals catch. So we're going to leave it like that for a while, and then I'll check the heat, and I'll show you how we adjust the heat and the height. 2 important things you need, I always say in the videos, are these fireplace gloves and a stick. All right, always move that if you can with the fireplace gloves on, because if it slips, a clamp falls off or something, and it hits that it's dry and it hits those coals, it could spontaneously combust. Time isn't important, but it's 10 after 1, and I usually cook this for like 2 hours or so. And we want to get the color and not necessarily put it down so far that it scorches. We want it to cook. So with hickory, we want a nice brown color. What I've seen with black locust, it turns black, and that's okay. But things we have to watch for is that whatever wood you use, the wood is not smoking, just the coals. If the wood starts smoking, you have to raise it. Okay, so fire hardening takes place at around 240 degrees, and different types of wood have different, I believe, combustion points. Most wood combust at 300 degrees. I think some have a lower temperature, like, let's say, eastern red cedar or pine. So having said that, Keith Shannon, who really brought this fire hardening to a next level, he came up with how you check the temperature. And if you put your palm right underneath the limb, you go 1, 2, 3, and you can't hold it there no more. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Stay, that's a little hot there. 1, 2, 3. That's how you tell the temperature. So what I'm going to do here is, it's very hot here, and that's where the stick comes into play. I'm going to lower some coals here. Better. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so believe it or not, you could try. I tried everything. I tried the thermometers. I tried measuring the distance from the coals to the wood, and none of that applies because you have different heights for different temperatures that you're cooking the wood in. And also on a windy day, it's different than a calm day. So there's a lot of different variations on how high this would be. And putting your palm right underneath and pulling it out on a 3 count, it's not going to burn your hand. You got to have common sense. You can't be an idiot and stick your hand in it until it roasts. You just put it in. 1, 2, yeah, that's it. 1, 2, 3. So, and that's the best way. Keith Shannon came up with it. I don't know how he did, but it was a great idea and it worked. I really suggest that if you're interested in fire hardening, you go to Shannon Outdoors and you buy his fire hardening DVD. And it really changed everything for me as a beginning bowyer, because I don't have to rely on getting staves with worms in and everything. I can get local whitewood, and I could cut down a tree. I could scrape the bark off, leave the back, shape it into a bow and cook it, and I could have a working bow in a week. So that's why it's so important. So I suggest you check that out. Also is tillering. If you look at like tillering a 1,000-year-old bow, and he has some other things on tillering. I tiller with a yardstick, and I learned that from him. I appreciate my conversations I had with him. And when you tiller with a yardstick, things jump out with you, and you're able to get a nice even bend. And I appreciate all his help. All right? So we're going to check it in a half hour. It's at the half hour mark. And I checked all the clamps. They were a little loose. I had to tighten them up. You got to constantly check the clamps. You got to knock off the ash. I added some more coals. I checked out the belly of the bow. That's the part that's hanging by the coals. That's the part that faces your belly. And it's turning black. It gets a black color. And we're going to just keep monitoring and make sure that the smoke is coming from the coals and not the wood. And if we have to raise it, we'll raise it. Well, I say I'll check it in a half hour, but I mean I'll check it on the camera in a half hour. But I'm checking it every 10 minutes. I check it. I moved the clamps over. It's an hour now, and I moved the clamps over just to get them in a different spot, just for the purposes of heat treating. I honestly believe the heat goes around everything, but at least the spots that were covered by the clamp will get a chance to color and get hot. Okay, we're going to go with the camera and look and see what it looks like underneath, and I'm going to add more coals. Okay, from the center of the riser, moving to the right. See, it's got a dark color right up to the tips. Okay, we're going to go back from the center, moving out to the left. We got a dark color even going out to the tips. Real quick, I'm knocking off ash as I go along. And I'm going to add coals before I drop it back down. Okay, I keep the coals in the back of the grill here. I'll lay them out. I'm not going to show you me putting coals out, but that's the idea. And we're gonna once we get it laid out, we're gonna drop it back down and monitor it, and we'll check it at another half an hour. Again, like I showed you, this black locust don't turn brown; it turns black, and that's okay. You're blackening the limbs, okay? That's just what it is. And we got it. We took off the ashes. We got more coals. We got it cooking now. Okay. And we got to just watch and make sure that the smoke is coming off the coals and not the wood, no matter what type of wood you use. Okay, we're going to check it soon. Like I said, the time isn't important. It's an hour and a half. I did a good knockdown of all the ash on the coals. I put more coals on. I got it up high. We're going to go take a look at it now. Okay, from the center riser, moving to the right. We got that black color right down to the tip. From the center, moving to the left. We got that dark black color right down to the tip. Okay, we're on the home stretch. Coming along. Okay, it's been cooking for 2 hours, and I'll say it's completely cooked. So I'm going to put it on the table, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. Look at the nice dark black color we have here. It's been cooked for 2 hours. I'm going to let it cool. And the reason that we fire harden these bows, it changes the molecular structure. It dries them out. You're able to take a tree. This was a black locust that was a live tree 2 months ago. And took the bark off, shaped it, and we're going to have a shootable bow when I decide to tiller it, weather permitting. So it's really a great thing, this fire hardening. And every bow that I made so far that was fire hardened shoots incredibly fast, recovers quickly. It makes a great bow. Okay, so we're going to let this cool just a little bit more, and then we're going to take a rag and we're going to hydrate it, and I'll get back to you. I took off the clamps and I'm very pleased. Look how this twisted, dippy black locust bow stave that I recurved has taken to the fire hardening jig. Right? It glued right to the form. So let's take a look, bring it closer. Everything looks good. Like I say, these recurves always look, when you get them and they say, wow, that looks good, but you never could tell until you put a string on them, okay? Let's check out the fire hardening. Yeah, like I said, black locust turns black. And the interesting thing is, when you steam the limbs and you look at that pot of water where the sapwood drips out, it's black. The water's black after you steam this. So I always dump out the water, and I use steel wool and soap, and I make sure that that pot that this poisonous wood, the sap dripped into, is clean as could be when I'm done. Okay, so there we go. I'm very happy with the way it came out. And what we're going to do is, that's the end of this video. And what I may do is I may put the antler tips on, because I'll have a link to how to put antler tips on and other videos right following this, okay? So this will be the end of the fire hardening video, which the fire hardening video included recurves, okay? So every day that you wake up is a good day. Thanks for watching. Okay, I urge you to go and keep chatting outdoors and get that fire hardening video so you can see how to properly get any whitewood and make it a shootable bow. Like even this black locust is 2 months old, And now when I tiller it, I'll have a really nice bow. Thanks for watching. Watch my other videos on Barebow Joe. Just one more thing. Don't be afraid when you fire harden the bow. Look at the water running off this rag. Okay, don't be afraid to hydrate this. I'm going to hydrate this over and over and over again to get moisture back into it. Because I want to try and tiller this, you know, with 5-6% moisture, at least 6% usually, okay? So that's the idea. Get a nice wet rag, hydrate it. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Okay, that's the end.